Welcome to this afternoon's session. My name is John Zivkovic, and today I'm going to talk to you about a modern intelligent operating system for hybrid cloud foundation. A little bit about me. I've been a customer-facing solution architect for 8 years. 2.5 years of those have been with Red Hat. Prior to that, I had the opportunity to work in the Australian film industry for about 10 years. When I first started, I started on Matrix Reloaded. For anyone that's heard, they're making another one. Cool. And then very quickly, the company that I worked for was contracted to deliver Australia's first fully animated feature film, which was Happy Feet. So we had to scale quickly, and we had to build a sizable high-performance compute cluster. It was Windows, lots of open source tools. We completed that on schedule, and then George Miller, the director, decided that Happy Feet 2 was going to be built by his own studio, which is a studio from scratch. It was going to be all open source. So I ended up building a second high-performance compute cluster based on Linux. So a lot of background, a lot of experience with open source and Linux. And just to highlight my passion for systems and understanding how systems work, I spent some time before IT. I spent some time fixing Qantas Boeing 767, 747s as an avionics tech. Enough about me. Okay, I thought I'd start the presentation today with this slide. This is actually a marketing slide that came out when we released Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 a number of months ago. And what was exciting about this is this highlighted to me that we had a newfound focus on developers. I'm going to ask for some audience participation. This is the first and last time I'll ask you to participate, so please. Who in the room consider themselves to be developers? Hands up. Excellent. All right, who in the room consider themselves to be systems, operations, networking, or security? Okay, very good. That's my background as well. So who in the room consider themselves to be DevOps engineers? Excellent. I have a soft spot in my heart for DevOps engineers. They know how to do everyone else's job, and they know how to automate you out of a job. The problem with DevOps at the moment is that management don't know what they do. All right? So for now, what I'm going to say is, developers, you are the rock stars of IT, right? Empowered by management to forge ahead, new tools, new platforms, right? Innovative architectures in the cloud, accelerating time to value, and new products in the market. Yeah? Okay. And with containers, now you have the opportunity to build everything yourself. You can build your application. You can manage the life cycle of that application. But you're also now kind of responsible for the security of that application. So the systems people in the audience are going, I don't know if I feel really easy about that. It's just something that we've traditionally done, patched, secured. Yeah. But the SysOps people in the audience are now busy as well, because we have private cloud, we have multiple public clouds, we have to worry about interconnectivity, different architectures, scaling, maintenance, support, documentation. So you're busy with your own problems. So what I wanted to talk about today is what's new in Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8, the tools and features that developers, perhaps new to Linux, can use, and additional features that the system operations people can use to manage across what is a hybrid landscape. Now, I've got one slide after this one. Questions after the session. I've got one slide after this one, and then I'm going to go into a demo. So just bear with me for a moment. One of the first features that I wanted to talk about is something called application streams. So one of the bugbears of developers traditionally with Enterprise Linux was, it's fantastic, we've got a 10-year support base for the underlying operating system. But the problem was that the cadence of the applications on top of that operating system that developers wanted, new applications over that 10 years, weren't coming through as quickly as they wanted to. So we've simplified our repository structure. We've broken out the base OS. When you install Linux, you get two two repositories, the base operating system and application streams. Now, application streams are a modular approach to consuming applications that have a higher cadence of release over that 10-year life cycle. Okay? So now we have Postgres 9.6 and 10 available to install as a module. You can only install one at a time because there is clashes with the libraries. Things like Python, you can install multiple versions of, 2.7, 3.6. And then Postgres SQL, when that comes along, and for those that are sharp, yes, it was GA 56 days ago, it'll come along as an application stream and we'll support that on Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8. And also in 2.5 years' time, when the next revision or next major release of RHEL comes through, we'll have that same application stream supported across that platform. So over to the demo. Okay. Now, what I'm going to demonstrate first is I want to show you our web console for Linux, and then some features within that web console, session recording, and image builder. Okay. So the web console, or the cockpit, is a lightweight web front end to Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It is very, very lightweight. I've tried it on multiple machines with very little resources, and it's quite snappy. What I wanted to show you while we're here is the option to not necessarily just log into this machine. And by the way, this is a virtual machine. It's running under KVM. It's Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8. It's running on my work laptop, which is running Fedora. For anyone that doesn't know, Fedora is the upstream open source product for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. But with this particular field here, I can connect to other virtual machines or other RHEL servers. So maybe this is a Bastion or some sort of jump box. This gives you the opportunity to perhaps give your developers or your systems team a place where they can land if they want to go and jump around machines. Now, I'm going to log in here, and I know there's probably going to be some groans when they see me log in as root. I'm live. I'm demoing live, so you've got to give me a break, right? Okay. So where we land is we land on what is effectively the system dashboard. And very quickly, you can see we've got some graphs showing what the CPUs are doing, how much memory is being consumed, and disk and network I/O. On the left, I have some information about hardware, version of the operating system. I can join a domain through here. I've got some power controls as well. And if we have a look down the left, from here we have a number of familiar things that administrators would perhaps want to leverage. I'm not saying that we should replace all your command line skills, but these days across multiple clouds, trying to remember 1,000-odd command line commands and switches can get a bit painful sometimes. So if you just want to log in and just check the logs on a box, you can click on the Logs tab, sort by category, and then very easily just click on one of the log entries and have a look at what it is, right? We can administer storage from here. Have a look at what the disk I/O is doing, have a look at our partitions and our volumes, have a look at our storage logs. On the right, we can create new RAID volumes. We can create volume groups, new feature, virtual data optimizer. We can create those devices as well, set up our iSCSI targets. Similar with networking. Shows you a graph of what's happening, shows the NICs that are active. I can add a bond, I can add teams, add bridges, add VLANs. I can go into my firewall, see which services are active. I can add services, right? Really handy stuff. And as you can see, navigating it is quite easy and quick. User accounts. Remembering how to lock out an account, force a password policy change, expiring out accounts. You can do that all through here. I can terminate a session that's on the machine running at the moment. System services. What's running? I want to potentially restart a service, I want to reload a service, I want to start up parameters and other things. You don't have to be a system CTL guru, right? You can do it all through here. Now, I'll jump this for a sec, and I want to talk about applications. Applications are a way of extending the functionality of the cockpit over time. So what you see here is we've got installed 3 features. I'll demonstrate 2 of them. One's called Image Builder, one's called Machines, which is to work with virtual machines, and we've got session recording. Now, over time, as we introduce new capability, you'll very simply install an RPM, and that'll pop up here as an application that you can use. So go to virtual machines quickly. I've created a virtual machine. Yes, it is a nested virtual machine. Perhaps your developers don't have access to a Linux machine that they can run on their laptop or virtualize on their laptop. You could set up nested virtualization in your data center or in the cloud, and they can drive it through here. For those of you that can see the name of the virtual machine I've got here, which is CentOS Streams, interesting bit of news, increasing collaboration between us and the team to extend the community around RHEL and to have more features, more feedback, and the ability to influence the major releases of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So if you want to talk about that, come and see us at the booth or have a look at the news articles. Okay, session recording. This is one for the security and the audit teams. Okay. Session recordings is a way of recording non-privileged access to this server and recording all of the terminal input. So I'm going to use another feature down the bottom, which is terminal. Gives me a nice terminal that I can log in with. Oh, it's already logged in, but it's quite a snappy terminal. Unlike other consoles, this is pretty good. I'm going to log in as a non-privileged user. And what you'll see, if that's visible, yep. What you'll see here is it says, attention, this session is being recorded. So we've got a user that may not be experienced or is trying to do something that's malicious. Wants to go in, can't access the root directory. Perhaps he wants to add himself or herself to the sudo as list. Permission denied. Okay. Perhaps they want to do something stupid, like type in do something stupid. That's not going to work, but we've logged it. I log out, go back to the session recording tab, and here you'll see, new timestamp, the session that I just logged in with. I'm going to open this up a bit, play it back, and you can see this whole session played back. I can copy and paste this data. I can export this. For people that want to access this via command line, you can go in and you can see this and play this back via command line. So it shows you exactly what the user did. This is all baked into the machine. And what we can do down the bottom here is I can search by a term. I can search by the term stupid, for instance. Do a search, and it comes back with a timestamp. If there was multiple entries of the same command, I'd get multiple timestamps, and I can click on those, and it'll go back to when I type that in, and it'll play that back for me. So this is a really good feature for security people and for auditing. Right. The last feature I'll focus on is Image Builder. Now, Image Builder, this one takes a little bit to come up. Image Builder is a way of developing golden images for your applications and operating systems that you can distribute across your hybrid cloud. We work with blueprints. This is an example for an HTTP server. We can select components through the GUI, or we can add them via command line. There is a tool that's available. This one, for instance, has Apache. We've got mod SSL libraries. We've got an SSH server, PHP MySQL bindings, rsync, tmux. I can very easily just click edit and add additional applications. But where the power really is when I hit the create image button. So I've got the stack that I want to deploy. I want to build an image for it, but I've got to deploy to multiple environments. And what I have here is a simple drop down. The first one at the top, I think it's alphabetical, AMI image. Next one, I've got an ext4 image. I can build a bootable ISO, an OpenStack QCOW image, similarly for KVM, QCOW image there, tar file, an Azure Disk image, and I've got a VMDK at the bottom of the list. So you literally just go through and create multiple images and distribute them to your environment. All right. Okay. So that covers off the bulk of Cockpit. I won't spend any more time here because I've got some other stuff that I wanted to cover off. One for the SysOps teams. And we talked about the difficulty of managing and maintaining a secure and supported environment across multiple environments. Red Hat has a very, very strong focus on cloud-based management services. For any RHEL subscriber, you have something called Red Hat Insights, and I'll drill down into that. I'll actually demonstrate it in a moment. For customers that are needing to support at scale and are using something like Satellite Server, we have the Smart Management subscription. With the Smart Management subscription, they get additional value with cloud services for vulnerability, compliance, and for system comparison. So I'll spend a couple of minutes and I'll go into each one of those. If you go away today with one URL from my session, log into cloud.redhat.com because that's a real focus for us in terms of building out new cloud-based services. You've got one pane on the left for insights. We've got smart management and cloud management services in the middle. And on the right, we have the entry to our OpenShift portal. If you'd like, at the end of the day, add a /beta on the end of that, and you'll see the services that we're working on. So we do share the up-and-coming services. They're beta, obviously. Just add a -beta, and that'll open up the new stuff that we're working on. So every customer that subscribes to RHEL has access to this product. Red Hat Insights is an analytics engine. It's hosted in the cloud. It has access to 20 years of knowledge base articles, of support cases and remediations. It also captures obfuscated data from our customers' Linux machines. Whoever wants to share that data, it's obfuscated. It's taken up into the cloud. We analyze it for you, and then every week we will actually generate and send you a customized report. Now, what's different about Insights is it doesn't focus just on security fixes and patches. As you can see from the list on the right, we can also make recommendations on performance and stability and availability. And that's by virtue of the fact that we sit on top of hardware and virtual machines and clouds, and we've been doing that for many, many years. So just to give you a demonstration of what Insights can do, if I click on security, this will very quickly show me a list of CVEs or other performance or availability tweaks that I can make to my environment for the servers that are managed by Insights. At the bottom of the list, I've got a very simple one. It says I've got a decreased security because of the no-root squash needs to be amended. The total risk is low. Risk of change is moderate. But what makes this really, really powerful is down here I'll have a list of hosts that have this issue, and if I click on them, this blue button is highlighted, and that's the Ansible Remediate button. So with the Ansible Remediate button, I click on that, and I can type in a name for this particular remediation. I'll hit next. If I need a reboot, it'll ask me if I want to include a reboot. I hit create, and then within a second or two, it creates a playbook for me, and it ends up in my list of remediations on the left. And if I go into there and I click on this, actually I should have downloaded the playbook, but that's fine. If I hit download, I can download this Ansible Playbook. And if we have a look at the playbook, you can see that this particular playbook was tailored for the host that I selected. If I had multiple hosts, it would add those to the list of hosts. You can run this Ansible Playbook on the server. You can run it from your satellite server, or you can run it out of your Ansible Tower environment. And this is something that every one of our customers that subscribes to RHEL has access to. Okay. Just very quickly, cloud services, cloud managed services. Those three capabilities that I mentioned earlier, vulnerability, compliance, and system comparison. Vulnerability just takes the security aspect, looking at CVEs, looking at your exposures and risks to common vulnerabilities, exposures, takes that to the next level. Again, we've got a list of things that our machines or our environment is exposed to. If I click on one of those, it shows me how important it is. It gives me a list of all the hosts that are exposed to that issue. And if I select those, again, the Remediate with Ansible button pops up. Maybe I want to remediate for this outside of my normal patch cycles. Very quickly, I can click on that, create another playbook. Same thing. I'll have a customized playbook with those hosts in the hosts line. Compliance. For anyone that hasn't looked at OpenScape, our Open Secure Content Automation Protocol, have a look at it when you leave today. It's something that we developed in conjunction with the US government. It's a set of tools and set of policies where you can scan your machines and compare the setup of your machines to a particular baseline, a policy baseline. It might be a PCI DSS standard or a DSS SIG standard. So this comes packaged in as an RPM, you install it, there's no additional installation that's necessary. You run a scan across your fleet, you upload that scan into our smart services. This is one that I prepared earlier. It's a report for the machine, the virtual machine that I'm running on here, which is this one here. It showed me, I was a bit quick then, sorry. It showed me that I have a 91-point-something% compliance to that standard. And down here, I have a list of where I deviate from that standard. Shows me my severity, shows me that it hasn't passed, and show me whether there's an Ansible remediation for that issue. Once again, I can click on a number of these fixes, hit the Remediate with Ansible button, and it will generate a playbook for those particular remediations. Okay? If you want to see more about security, compliance, and automated compliance, I'd suggest you attend Richard Hailstone's session this afternoon, which is, I think, one of the last sessions for today. And system comparison, a nice tool that you could use to see if someone's gone in and potentially changed something on a system, or if you've got some configuration drift issues, you want to quickly make a comparison between some machines. You just select them from the list, hit submit, and I get this nice view with those 3 machines of where I deviate, and I can drill down into where I deviate. Here I've got installed packages that are different, and I can contrast my systems, right? So these are some of the services that we're working on. This will expand over the coming year or two, moving into the future, and check them out. Okay. All right. It's a favourite topic of mine. I thought I'd spend a little bit of time talking about containers. There's a bit of misconception around what they are. Containers are Linux processes, okay? They run on Linux in their own namespaces and C groups for isolation. We still have to apply security controls on top of them. We use secure computing and security enhanced Linux. And then in Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8, we also provide a set of tools to run, to build, and the grey on the right, containers, is the base image layer. Now, a lot of developers are going out onto the internet, they're downloading what's called a base image. The base image is effectively the container interface to the underlying running operating system or kernel. That container image, they're going off, they're downloading from insecure registries. Those registries may host something that's reasonably robust, but there's not many registries out there hosting base images that have the same application build supply chain that we do, with the same rigor applied around it. So what Red Hat has done is we've actually released base images. And we've released base images under a new end-user license agreement. So even for non-paying customers, if you want the secure, reliable base image with the goodness of RHEL, you can download our universal base image from our secure registries. You can bake them into your images, and you are free to distribute them wherever you like. Okay, so if you haven't checked this out, please have a look at this. For our supported of paying customers, we open up some additional application repositories to them, similar to the application streams that you saw earlier, and we also provide support for that UBI. And then you're free, again, to distribute in your organization. The tools I mentioned to build and to run, we've focused on the Open Container Initiative, Open Container Format. So we've built some tools that we are helping the community to evolve. They are Podman to build and run on a local machine, Builder and Scopio to build them and distribute it to secure registries, and then eventually into an industrialized container management platform like OpenShift. Containers are Linux processes, and under any container platform, you will have Linux. So with our OpenShift platform, again, we have Red Hat Enterprise Linux. For the orchestration plane, we have Kubernetes, and then to augment and round out the rest of the features that you need to provide something that's usable to your developers and to your organization, we have our automations layer, and then we have additional metrics, telemetry, secure registry, through our cluster services, and then again, developer services on top of that. I just wanted to sort of paint a picture of what a container management platform really does look like. One of the challenges with these platforms is that you deploy them, there's multiple machines, you productionize them, even dev environments are sacred these days. So how does a person that's new to container management platforms, how do they get access to them? How do they learn about them? How do they break them when they're usually set up in multiple virtual machines in a cluster? So what Red Hat has done is we've taken OpenShift, we've packaged it into one virtual machine that you can run on Linux, on Windows, and on Mac. We've called it Code-Ready Containers. It is a full OpenShift cluster. So if you're a developer or if you're a systems person and you want to learn about what this looks like, download it and run it on your laptop. And it's accessible through cloud.redhat.com. The third pane on the right, that's where you can access this. It has all the installers for OpenShift across the hybrid cloud, and this one's at the bottom of the page. Accessible now, completely GA, I think, within the next couple of days. And I wanted to spend a moment rounding this out, talking about something that is important to a lot of enterprises. We've talked about RHEL for developers. We've talked about RHEL as the underlying base. Physical machines, virtual machines, private cloud, public cloud, okay? Now, to certify and to have a supported base across all those platforms takes some very strong relationships and some very strong partnerships. So we do partner with all of our hardware vendors to make sure that it runs on your private cloud. We do work with all the hypervisor providers. We've got our own OpenStack, Red Hat Virtualization, but of course there's VMware and Hyper-V. And then the public clouds have an underlying base, which is a combination of the hardware and the hypervisors. But then they have their own services and APIs. So we spend a lot of time making sure that RHEL runs nicely across those environments and that we can support for you. And let's not forget our enterprise applications, SAP HANA ERP system. We've had a 20-year relationship with SAP. We're one of only 2 Linux vendors that are supported, or that support that platform. And the performance with Red Hat isn't too shabby. Similarly, Microsoft, a platinum sponsor today. For those of you that don't know, SQL Server runs on Linux natively. You can install it with an RPM. Apparently, it's easier to install on Linux than Windows. Is there any Microsoft people in the room? Again, performance isn't too shabby under Linux, and it also runs as a container. So with that, I think next steps, I was talking to a couple of people today at the stand, and I was saying, we can come and talk to you, spend some time with you, talk about your business, talk about what you're trying to achieve. We can talk about technology. But what we can also do is we can help kickstart or accelerate that first step. So we have Smart Start capability where we come in, talk about the low-hanging fruit use cases, install the technology, and we'll get those things running in production quickly. We have people and teams that can come in if it's not about technology, if it's about process, if it's about culture. We have innovation labs on the automation front and on the developer front. We can come in, we can actually affect the culture of an organization. Because in the open source community, culture is very, very important, right? I mean, that's one of the most fundamental tenets of why open source has gotten to where it is. So come and talk to us about different things that we can engage with you on, Red Hat directly or our partners. Please come and talk to us at our booth. My voice is not too bad, so I'm happy to. I can fire up code-ready containers. It takes a couple of minutes, but I can show you what that looks like, if you like. And as I mentioned, cloud.redhat.com. Explore today. Have a look at what's available to you.